So recently, Tracy McGrady has been making headlines as he's been having some strong takes in recent days. One of his recent statements that gained attention was when T-Mac said that he was in the same conversation with Kobe Bryant during his prime. And my response is,
he ain't lying.
I wouldn't even classify this as an opinion from T-Mac. It's just a fact. How do I know this? Because I was there, making these debates with my friends in the early to mid 2000s. Like much of my audience, I'm a grown man, with grown man decision making, which is why today's video is brought to you by Manscaped, the premium global brand for men's grooming and hygiene products. Manscaped is a company I love, and today I'm talking about the Performance Package 4.0, an all-in-one men's grooming kit for any of your body hair removal needs. Included in this kit is the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. Its cordless feature makes it super convenient to use, and its ceramic blades help avoid nicks while you're shaving. This kit also includes the Crop Preserver liquid deodorant and the Crop Reviver toner spray. Both refresh your skin and keep you smelling good, something your special someone will love. I know mine certainly does. For a short time, when you purchase the Performance Package 4.0 kit, you get 2 free gifts, the Shed Travel Bag and the Manscaped Anti-Chafing Boxer Briefs. Let Manscaped help you always look your best head to toe. Go to manscaped.com and use my promo code ARNETT for 20% off your order, plus free international shipping. Again, that's 20% off plus free international shipping with promo code ARNETT at manscaped.com. So back to the early 2000s. My buddy Chuck, who was 30 at the time, had been watching the game for 20 years up to that point, and he was always on Team McGrady. And of course, I argued on behalf of Kobe. I also had a friend in high school that was named Matt, who was religiously debating on behalf of McGrady. Yet, if you go on Twitter, you'll see a bunch of people claiming that McGrady's delusional. He's making stuff up for clout, and this guy specifically even compares him to Paul Pierce for his take. And sadly, 51 casual fans actually agreed with him. I saw people even saying that they were never in the same conversation because Kobe was a leader who won, and McGrady was a guy who was constantly getting bounced in the first round. Simply put, this is revisionist history. You have to remember that narratives and stigmas are shaped over time. In the 2002 to 2003 season, Kobe was putting up these numbers, but a cocky 24-year-old Kobe was not being viewed as a leader. People thought he was a diva, a selfish ball hog, and a guy whose ego wouldn't let him accept his role as a Robin to Shaq's Batman. Many people believed he was a disruption to the locker room chemistry, which is vastly different from the label of a leader. And honestly, those criticisms may have not been inaccurate, considering how his coach Phil Jackson retired a year later and wrote this book where he slandered Kobe's lack of teamwork numerous times. Sure, the Mamba had won 3 championships at that point, but he did that with Shaq as the finals MVP. And at that time, the narrative was firmly in place that Kobe couldn't win a ring without Shaq. Kobe hadn't proven otherwise just yet. On the other hand, in the 02 to 03 season, you had a 23-year-old McGrady who put up these numbers and was the league's leading scorer. At this point, the stigma didn't yet exist that McGrady was damned to be a loser who couldn't get past the first round. For goodness sake, he was just 23 years old and was just starting to show what he could do when he wasn't under Vince Carter's shadow in Toronto. Then you have to consider the different situations. McGrady didn't have the supporting cast that Kobe did, and everyone knew that in 2003. Kobe's second leading scorer was the all-time great Shaquille O'Neal, who was a recent league MVP and was one of the most dominant bigs the game had ever seen. McGrady's second leading scorer was Mike Miller, who never made a single All-Star team. I'm not trying to argue that McGrady was better in that specific time period, but I'm just trying to show why many other people had valid reasons to believe he was. People's denial and ignorance about this generational debate made me wonder what are some other debates that once took place that younger fans today would have a hard time believing. So let's close this chapter on McGrady and Kobe and dive into the next one. Chris Paul versus Deron Williams. Nowadays, I kinda wonder how many young fans even know who Deron Williams is. At the time, the comparisons were only natural, as both players were selected in the 2005 NBA draft. Williams was taken 3rd overall by the Utah Jazz, and Paul was taken 4th overall by the New Orleans Hornets. Both of these players were talented floor generals who didn't take very long to have a tremendous impact in the NBA. Both players were leading superstar point guard for their Western Conference contenders. I think most people were usually on Team Paul, and I know I certainly was, as I always felt like he had the edge defensively. But over a 4-year stretch, it was a very legitimate comparison, as their offensive numbers were nearly identical over that time. The reason the comparison fell off and became forgotten for the most part is because, quite frankly, Williams had one of the most drastic drop-offs that the game of basketball has ever seen. He did have some injuries that affected his career, like his wrist surgery in 2011 and various ankle injuries. The decline in his production was sharp, and he became a bit of a journeyman in his twilight years. By the time he was 32 years old, he had played his final game in the NBA as a bench-riding afterthought for LeBron's 2017 Cleveland Cavaliers. Again, his peak was a 4-year stretch for a small market team in a loaded Western Conference. So it kinda makes sense why this comparison has become somewhat lost in history. But ask anyone who was an NBA fan in the late 2000s and the early 2010s, and they'll tell you about the arguments they had between these two point guards. One other quick comparison that people have forgotten was Vince Carter versus Kobe Bryant. Just a couple of years before T-Mac and Kobe were causing arguments, this was one of the hottest debates in all of basketball. When it comes to the early years of Kobe's career, there seems to be a lot of revisionist history regarding his comparisons to Michael Jordan. Yes, Kobe was often compared to MJ, but Kobe was also a bit of a slow bloomer, who didn't average north of 20 points per game until his 4th season in the NBA. On the other hand, Vince Carter was more NBA ready upon entering the league, and for a while, I remember him being referred to as the next Michael Jordan way more than Kobe was. He was the high-flying acrobat who was drafted from North Carolina just like MJ, and even the Air Canada nickname also served as a direct reference to the Air Jordan nickname. Kobe and Vince had tremendous battles in the early 2000s, and for a while, it seemed as if most people were on Team Carter. I know this next part seems to be a silly piece of evidence, but I honestly think it's a pretty good indicator of how the two stars were viewed back in the day. This is my Beckett Price Guide magazine from August 2000. These magazines tell you the market value of NBA trading cards. This magazine was printed just after Kobe Bryant won his first championship, and yet, basically every single set of basketball cards had Vince Carter's cards at a greater value than Kobe Bryant's. The holy grail of Vince Carter's rookie cards was his 98-99 SP Authentic, which was valued at $1,000. The must-have Kobe Bryant rookie card was his 96-97 Topps Chrome, and that was listed at only $500. Now, this is the latest Beckett Price Guide magazine, which is listed as August 2023. That same Vince Carter rookie card is now valued at only $400, and that Kobe Bryant Topps Chrome rookie card is now listed at $1,500. Oh, how things can change in a couple of decades. Again, it's a silly and specific comparison, but I'm telling you, from 1999 to 2001, Vince Carter was the guy that many people were assuming would eventually become the face of the NBA. And to a certain extent, he already was. This is just a short video that I wanted to make to get you guys thinking. This video certainly could have been much longer, because there's been a lot of players who were compared to one another throughout the years that would now seem absurd by our modern evaluations of them. Do you guys have any examples of your own? Let me hear some past player debates in the comments section below. Thanks for watching as always. Make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.